Get started, I want to acknowledge that the campus is located on the traditional land on the Lekwungen speaking people, which include the Sanghi and Esquimalt nations, families and nations. And this morning we had an event here at Railroad called Campus Conversation. And I really like that our president was mentioning how important it is to do the land acknowledgement, but to mean it. So we just don't do it to do it. So I just invite all of us to take a moment, maybe take a deep breath, connecting our feet to the ground, and really acknowledges the lands we're on. I know we have so much we can learn from Indigenous communities. They have been protectors of this land for thousands of years. So I'm really grateful that we can play, learn, study, talk on those lands. And if people online, you know which land you're joining us from, please use the chat option to do so. And I'll just change my slide here. I have some folks with me, of course, amazing panelists. I also have people from the Career Innovation Project and the Career Learning and Development team with me here. And I'll pass it over to Alfia, which is our first speaker. And people, you can read the amazing list we have here. And how we will proceed today, actually, is that everyone will have about 5 minutes to introduce what they do. And I won't be too super strict on it. So if you do 6 minutes or 7 minutes, that's fine. So I think how I envision the session together is that we'll have about an hour together to hear from our panelists, who they are, what they do, if they have any opportunities for student or not, or maybe they were student here before, and then we'll save as at least 30 minutes for Q&A. And of course, people in the chat or in the room, if you have questions, you're welcome to interact with us. So that's kind of my vision, but really I want Alfia to say a few words about the program as we get started. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Alfia Badalova, and I'm a Bachelor's in Justice Studies program head. Sorry, so I just want to thank Career Learning and Development team for helping us organize this event. Everyone who's joining online and people in person, I'm looking forward to the conversation. And as somebody who joined the program relatively recently in February, I'm still learning about it, and I'm excited to make new connections. So the Be Justice program approach to the issues of justice is truly interdisciplinary, and we engaging with such disciplines as criminology, political science, sociology, philosophy, law, and other fields. And such approach provides us, our students, with an opportunity to explore justice in all its complexity and acquire the critical thinking skills that will position them well in different areas of justice. And the diversity of the fields that today's panelists represent, I think, reflects that same interdisciplinary approach that the program adheres to. And so I would like to, encourage students who are in attendance today to take advantage of these conversations. We have a practicum component of the program if students want to consider that. And so that's an opportunity for them to also think about their interests and passions. Again, thanks for being here. And I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point. I meant to say as well is that students have sometimes internship coming up, apply research project, justice field study. So there's quite a few things happening for students in the coming months. And in other programs, some folks will graduate in November and December and look for work in 2024. So that's very exciting that we can meet you online or in person. So thank you for this. And I guess we can get started with the one with some presentation. So as Matthew is here, and then I'll go online. So maybe, you know what, we'll do one in person, one online, just to keep things fun for Matthew here helping me. So Sammy, would you like to go first? Is that okay? Yeah. Thank you. And we'll put your slide up. I'll stop sharing. I think if you have a mic, you can go from there. Yeah, you can stay here.
Ta-da. Okay, great. And should I grab the clicker from you real quick? Did you? Oh, perfect. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So nice to see you. Thanks for coming and thanks for having me, Nancy. Thanks for the invite. Once we're up and loaded, I'll start clicking away. Nice to see you online. Awesome. So I'm Sammy. I am the Sustainability Programs Manager at EcoSave Zero Waste. We are a certified compostable bag manufacturer based in Surrey, BC. Super, super cool. Super, super random. Did I know that I was going to end up here? No, not at all. So I'm just going to try the clicker. Here we go. So my main mission with my team is to make composting second nature. And what I get to do is make it cool. So I try to make everything exciting and colorful because the benefits of composting is really exciting. And it's, for me as an environmentalist, if you want to call it, it's one of the best climate solutions out there. I'm not going to touch too much into the benefits of composting. I have them here and you can check out my slides later if you don't know already. I'll also put a plug into the documentary Kiss the Ground. It's a great documentary to get you excited about those solutions. But in my professional world, I am training distribution partners. So like people like sales reps from Home Depot and Bunzl and different big companies like that. I'm trying to get people who are selling our products to get excited about composting programs, because to have a bag, some people just like, oh, it's just a bag. But to have a certified compostable bag lining your green bins like you do on campus here, which is really, really great. It's important because it's keeping plastics out of the soil, essentially. But I put these pictures up there because this is me trying to make reusables cool. So shout out to the NULA project. Reusables are really important to me. I'm an activist. I'm always out on the street protesting. I'll be out on Saturday in support of Free Palestine movement happening. So that's really important to me right now. And it's at the forefront of my mind. And then, I'm trying to make composting cool. It's food waste is gross and it's a hard thing to get people to care about. So I try to make it cool. So this is my team. We're a lot of fun. We're a small team, and that makes it really almost easy to implement social impact and justice principles into our mission. And so we pretty much touch anywhere that sells, processes, or serves food. Wherever there's food it needs to be collected and taken to the compost. But we take it a step further by doing a lot of education, a lot of outreach, stuff like that. So today is honestly one of the things I love. So we like to say we don't just sell compostable bags. We sell programs as well, signage, really trying to train people how to do it properly, because there are a lot of issues in composting, and I'm going to click through this real quick, but contamination is a huge, huge issue within the whole green bin system. So this is just a little, an example of how I do some of my training. But to touch on the social impact side, I was really proud to learn when I started this job about 3.5 years ago, March 2020, great time to start a job. We actually manufacture, we have 3 manufacturing partners, and our biggest, most important one is the one that's located in Agency Village, which is in North Dakota. So we work with an underutilized business zone company that employs tribal members from the Lake Traverse Reservation. I put the map up there because I just wanted to show, there's not too much going on there. So to support this manufacturer of film products is really important to us. It's like the root of our impact. I didn't mean to click the button, but that picture on the right was one of our founders being gifted a blanket, which is a big signifier of our relationship with them. And so as we roll out our programs, we touch a lot of different universities across Canada and actually mostly the US, which is interesting to be a small Canadian company doing big work in the US. But we touch schools and like I said, anywhere where there's food being sold. And then the end of life is super important to us. We want to make sure that our bags are actually being put into the compost and not into landfills. That's a whole thing that I could get into if anyone's interested in that. Just trying to keep it short here, but the impact is huge. We were part of the Zero Waste team at the LA Memorial Coliseum, which is one of the United States biggest stadiums there. We've helped Spa Hills Compost up in Kelowna to divert waste from a huge outdoor event there, and a range of other businesses that are and haulers that are collecting food waste. So we're really trying to make their job easier through the power of these bags and through the power of our impact that way. And like I said, we're on a bunch of campuses in the US. Shout out to World Roads. I got to add you on here, and UBC as well. And this is my very non-linear career pathway that I wanted to just quickly touch on because it was never clear to me. I took environmental studies at Laurier University, ended up working for a fintech company called xe.com. It's a currency exchange website. And I got that job because I was blogging about picking up litter after I graduated university. That feeling of graduating and not being able to find a green job was terrifying. It was 2014, but I knew that if I kept it up, that there would eventually be something out there for me because I could essentially see the earth struggling and the deconstruction happening, right? When I jumped to Aurora Cannabis, which is when it was 2019, so the cannabis industry was just shooting off. Decriminalization was a huge portion of their sustainability office's goals. I was a digital marketer there, so I didn't really get to really work on that with them, but they really trained me into the decriminalization activism that was happening there. I jumped over to BC because I knew if I just came here without a job, I'd find a green job. Ended up at EcoSafe, luckily right before COVID, so I was able to stick around. And my big goal for the next year is to get us B Corp certified. So I went through the assessment this year, and I'm blown away by the amount of social impact metrics that you need to become a B Corp. So shout out to B Corp and that community there. If you have any questions about that, please reach out. And I have just a little bit of advice here for the students. Along the way, I've always just been myself. I'm a little bit quirky, a little bit funny, and I just was kind of had a hard time finding my way because I'm more of a creative than a scientist. So yeah, just be you and optimize on the skills that you do love to use. Take care of your mental health first. I've burnt out many times with the amount of activism and things that I've wanted to learn and be a wealth of knowledge to be able to educate. I really do enjoy using digital media as a way to activate different ways of thinking that actually benefit the planet. So that's kind of where I'm at. And there's some other pieces of advice there, but yeah, honor your cycle like the seasons. Know that if you're not putting up a fight right now, someone else is, and then you can jump back in once you're healthy and ready to do that. So thank you so much for being here. Would love to give you a roll of compostable bags. I don't have any on me, but if you don't even have to follow us on Instagram and TikTok if you don't, but I'm trying to put out new content and I'd love to know what you think. So if you want to follow us and DM us and just say, hey, I heard you talk, I want some bags. Well, I'll engage with you, but also my email's there too. So just reach out. I am very happy to provide any advice or anything like that. So thanks for having me, and I can hand this over to
Fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we want to follow you on social media. We'll do that.
There's some fun stuff. I promise. It's getting weirder and weirder just because you don't know what's going to work, right? So.
And I know that social media and all digital communication is a huge part of what we learn at Railroads as well as students of all ages. We're like, oh, we need to use digital tools. Right. So amazing. Online here, maybe I think Sylvia and Nicole, you have a presentation, some slides you want to share with us. So do you want to go ahead and do this? And you'll be on the big screen here.
We will do our best.
Just bear with us. So while Nicole's bringing that up, I'll just give you a quick background. So Nicole and I are with the Parole Board of Canada. I've been with the board for 11 years off and on. I left to go to Indigenous Northern Affairs Canada for a while. So we're going to give you sort of a brief background on what we do here at the Parole Board. And we will share a PowerPoint maybe with Nancy later. So if anybody wants more information, they can get in touch with her or they can email us. We have our email on the background there. So, yeah. So,
yeah, if you want to make it presenter view, maybe, so it's at the bottom, but we can see it really nicely. Thank you.
Share. So you gotta go in get that far away. Sorry.
I like to click on the little
There you go.
icon at the bottom right by the percentage there.
And you can just hit the from beginning right there. You go.
There you go. Okay.
Sorry, I don't have my glasses with me.
Okay, so basically, Parole Board of Canada, we are part of the criminal justice system. We're kind of, I would say, kind of at the end. You know, you have the court processes and you know, police process, and then we're at the end where we take part in what we call the facilitation of reintegration of offenders. So the board makes decisions in a timely manner based on legislative requirements on timing of parole releases. So our board members are independent administrative tribunal. That's what we're made up of. So they're hired by Privy Council essentially as independent decision makers. So they also have to you know, while making decisions, they have to take, you know, public safety is paramount. But they also have to keep in mind that the purpose of the judicial system or correctional service system is to help offenders reintegrate into society with, you know, we say as law-abiding citizens, but the purpose is that, you know, behavior is corrected, whatever issues, maybe substance issues that cause them to get into criminal activity, that we provide programs, or correctional services provide programs that help get off that track so they could be law-abiding citizens. So we make decisions on conditional release, so day parole, full parole, what else? Escorted absences, some unescorted temporary absences. The Parole Board of Canada also deals with clemency recommendations and expungement and record suspension. However, our Pacific region doesn't deal in those matters. It's done in our national office in Ontario, so we're not going to really talk too much about that. So we are bound by legislative authorities. So Nicole's going to talk about that a little bit.
So we are bound under the Corrections and Conditional Release Act. Our board members have the unique responsibility to grant, deny, cancel, terminate, or revoke day and full parole. We make quality conditional release decisions for all federal offenders and for provinces that do not have their own parole boards. And we have a few within Canada that don't have their own parole boards. We can impose detention on a period of statutory release. And then again, under the Criminal Records Act, we can deal with record suspensions and clemency, but again, we can send you that information after.
So a little bit more about our board members. So when board members are making decisions, this is, you hear it in the news a lot too, like how did they let that person out or what did they come to? And it's a really sort of narrow scope that they look at. It's a risk assessment. So it doesn't take place like a court proceeding. It's essentially like an interview. So the board uses their risk assessment to basically weigh the information. So all the police reports, all the court reports, and as well as information received by corrections, like their behavior while they're in the institution or if they've been in the community already. So they take all of that sort of information to assess whether the offender's risk to reoffend or commit another crime is greater than the risk that they don't. So that's basically all the information that they use. We call it reliable and persuasive information. So often we have offenders that say they didn't do that, but there's a police report that says that they did. You know, more often than not, the police report would be considered reliable and persuasive. So that's sort of how we do. The other thing is there's a bit of a misunderstanding when it comes to the parole board versus parole officers. We are actually not the same unit. Parole officers are under the Correctional Service of Canada, who's responsible for actually supervising the offender under their sentence. So whether it's in the community or in jail, correctional services does the supervision, whereas the parole board sticks more to the risk assessment and the conditional release, grants, denials, that sort of thing.
So we have some principles that are taken into consideration in all decisions. The utmost concern for the Parole Board of Canada and our board members is that protection of safety or protection of society is paramount. So they want to make sure that an offender's risk is not undue in order to be released back into society. Again, our decisions are based on relevant and reliable information. We also take into consideration statements from our registered victims as well. In order to, we have to take into consideration what the least restrictive measures is. So for some offenders, detention is an option. So the board members have to put their minds to whether or not that is too restrictive to be unfair to their liberty. And our principles of fairness, all offenders have the right to an assistant. That assistant can be anybody the offender wants. It could be a member of the clergy, their lawyer, a member of their family, another offender, anybody that can that they would like to have. They have the right to review information. Generally speaking, they have 14 days where information needs to be shared by. So any information that the board members are considering as part of their risk assessment has to be shared with the offender. And then offenders have the opportunity to provide a written response so they can make submissions prior to their hearings.
So a little bit too about, because I know Nancy had put in her invite to us, she was talking about equity justice and climate justice. So for the parole board right now, we are part of our mandate, part of what the board members take into consideration when making their decision on somebody's liberty is their socioeconomic backgrounds. So for instance, Indigenous offenders, a lot of them have access to some of their cultural traditions within the institution. So they have elders in the institution that the offenders may work with from day to day and attend ceremony with them. And the parole board, when they have hearings for Indigenous offenders that ask to have this, we have elder assisted hearings. So we have a parole board elder that would attend the hearing and work with our board members on sort of advising them, giving them guidance to the culture in respect to that offender. So we're also doing, it's kind of goes with climate justice as well. We do a lot of video hearings now. So it sort of saves on, cars and transportation, getting to institutions. It provides convenience to victims who may not want to be in the institution as well. They can observe a hearing virtually. There are circumstances where they would go and where the board members would go in person rather than virtually. And that is, if it's an elder assisted hearing, it would be in person. And also often, not always, often with our female offenders, the board takes into consideration the trauma-informed approach, which often with female offenders, their offending is different from the male offenders. So often they will be in person as well to take that into consideration. So those are a couple of things we're doing. The board has also, I would say about 2016-17, we've gone essentially paperless. So all our files are electronic now. So just because I try to be cognizant of time, just for information purposes, the parole board has a decision registry. So anyone who would like a copy of a parole board decision on an offender can apply through the decision registry for decisions that the board has made on a specific offender. Also, if somebody chooses to observe a hearing, you are able to apply to observe a hearing, and we would arrange that for you and let you know what's available at that time. So any member of the general public can do that, and I would encourage that you do, because it's definitely something different. You may be surprised of how it goes, especially if you've been to court hearings before. It's quite different. So our contact information is up there. If you want to get in contact with Nicole or I, we're happy to provide more information on that. We also have, which may come up in the discussion later, we have a federal student work experience program. The government in Canada in general has one, so it's not just the Parole Board of Canada, but we have information on that, and we actually have it in our slide, which we won't show because of time, but we can share a slide with Nancy, and she can give it out to anyone who's interested.
Yes, that will be wonderful. Thank you so much, Sylvia and Nicole, for your time and presentation. Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. And just knowing that I still have Matthew with me here to do more slides, I think Liz will go with you. You have the clicker, you have the mic. We'll put your presentation up. And for the people just joining us online, feel free to think of questions, because we'll have times for question and networking after the presentation here.
Thanks so much. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks to Nancy for inviting me, and Althea. I didn't really know if I was supposed to talk about how I ended up in this position or more about my office, but this is definitely the PowerPoint is definitely leaning on my workplace, which I really love. So I guess before getting started, just appreciation to Nancy for getting us into this space. I'm a regional advisor. I live and work here on these territories of the Lekwungen speaking peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. And yeah, the ground under me is feeling a little bit shakier than usual with the state of things these days. So feeling extra grateful for the access to these lands that have been stewarded from beginning of time. So, and with all of these, I have to do a lot of land acknowledgements as they become the norm. I just want to reassert my commitment to decolonization here on these lands and abroad as well. So myself, I'm Liz. I work for BC's Office of the Human Rights Commissioner. I do engagement. So a big part of my role is building relationships with community members, with organizations that are working in the social justice sector here on Vancouver Island. So it's about 40,000 square kilometers. There's 4 of regional advisors located throughout the province, all doing a lot of cool work. One of our guiding principles as an office is nothing about us without us. So a big part of this role is just ensuring that the voice of community is embedded in all the policy recommendations that we are moving through to government, to the provincial government. So that's a little bit about me. And our office. So BC's Office of the Human Rights Commissioner, we were reinstated in September 19th of 2019, and that was after a 17-year hiatus. So our office is mandated to, as you can see on the screen, address the root causes of inequality, discrimination, and injustice in British Columbia, and that's by shifting laws, policies, practices, and cultures. For those 17 years, we were the only province in the country that didn't have a commission's office. We have a systemic mandate. So I do have a slide on it later, but we don't deal with individual complaints. We are looking at systemic issues and ways to address those at the provincial level. An important thing to note is that is different than the Commissioner's Office of British Columbia today versus when it existed in the 2000s, the early 2000s, is that now we are an independent officer of the legislature, which means that we are not dependent of the party of the day. We are independent, and we are written into the Human Rights Code. So I think we do have a watchdog role. A lot of our recommendations that we do make are to different government ministries and agencies. And a big part of our role is to do advocacy work. And I will talk about how that looks in action and what we've been doing. I didn't name this, but Kasari Govender is our current Human Rights Commissioner, which is really important to note. So she was appointed for a 5-year term, and her term is coming to an end actually next year. So we are quite new, and everything we've had to do in the last 5 years. We have 37 full-time employees, so it's been building up an office operationally while also doing a lot of the really tough work in addressing systemic human rights issues in the province. So it's been a big role, a big undertaking for Kasari, and she's a human rights lawyer and had a lot of experience in community-driven work as well. So this slide I put on because there's often a lot of confusion when we say the human rights system in British Columbia. There's a lot of confusion between our office, the Office of the Human Rights Commissioner, and the tribunal and the clinic. So just quickly, the tribunal deals with individual human rights complaint, and the clinic will support folks who have human rights complaints that are being seen at the Human Rights Tribunal. Our office doesn't deal with individual human rights complaint. Again, we're dealing with systemic human rights issues and addressing the root causes. This slide, I guess, since there is a big justice, well, our theme today is justice, but on criminal justice. So this is the Human Rights Code in British Columbia. In the center are the characteristics, the protected characteristics that are embedded in the Human Rights Code as it is today. And then on the perimeter, the employment, housing, publications, and services. And then it's cut off a little bit, but membership in union is also included as the areas of everyday life where the Human Rights Code, those protected identities, are applied. Also, I put this on because it weaves in with our advocacy work, that the Human Rights Code is a living document, and that it's through advocacy from community members that this will change. So one thing that what was done with us through work of our office in collaboration with a lot of Indigenous organizations throughout the province was the addition of Indigenous identity. And that was in 2021. So although Indigenous identity was a protected characteristic under race, ancestry, and color already, the addition of Indigenous identity in the Human Rights Code just speaks to the unique experience of Indigenous peoples of these lands. Another piece of advocacy work that we've been doing and actually got me excited about working in this office was the addition of social condition to the Human Rights Code as a protected characteristic. We're still doing a lot of advocacy work on that piece, and again, with a lot of really great community organizations. And so social condition would prevent discrimination based on poverty, your employment, your education, houselessness, etc. What else did I put in here? These are just some projects. I'm part of the education and engagement team. We have a legal team, we have a research and policy team, a communications team, operations team. So there's a lot of really great work, a lot of really well-researched reports that are coming out of this office. So this is just kind of a handful. I was just putting my notes together and the slide together while I was in another meeting this morning. So I am missing some things, but I really encourage everyone. My last slide will have our website on it. But this just kind of gives a timeline. And I actually have the physical report for the inquiry that's in the middle, November 2021, the inquiry into the rise of hate during the COVID-19 pandemic. That, for instance, is a 420-page report. It was our first inquiry as an office, and it includes 12 recommendations that are to different government ministries and agencies. And one of the cool powers that the commissioner has is to actually check in and make sure that the government and agencies that these recommendations are geared towards are taking action. Another cool piece of work, and if anyone has any questions about things specifically, like please do talk to me about it. I don't think I can really I can't go too much into detail on any of them, but the Scorpa report, the Equity is Safer report, for instance, that's, to my knowledge, the biggest research paper report in Canada into policing in our country. It's been really powerful. I'm not sure if anyone knows, but the Victoria School Board just recently removed its SLO program, and there was a lot of leaning into the Scorpa report and the really rich research that's in it. So that's just kind of speaking to how our reports and recommendations kind of weaves into advocacy work at the community level. I was speaking to a community member who reached out in Nanaimo, Nanaimo territory last week, that was presenting to the school board trustee up in those territories. I listened to 5 times that he named our recommendations and reports coming from our office as reason to remove the SLO program. SLO is Student Liaison Officer Program. So there is a lot of really great advocacy work that goes beyond my role and really is embedded into community work. And then finally, the Baseline Project, which is, I guess, on the right of people's screens. We just launched a few weeks ago our Baseline Project database. And so that's online, and it has about 1,700 or so recommendations that you can search. And I think for a student, like I also did at a master's level master's in human rights and international law, and would have loved something like this. So you can kind of name the sector, name the region, the years that you're looking for, and it'll populate recommendations that are coming from within BC, specifically within the human rights sector, which is massive. So 1,700 recommendations and growing. If anyone has any reports or things that are missing from it, please reach out. Again, it's a living database, and we just launched that a couple weeks ago, which we're very excited about. These things, there's a lot of hate incidents out there, so we have a lot of work to do as neighbors, as community members. So I'm not going to say too much about that one. And then this is just how to get a hold of me. Again, I'm here on these territories. This justice work is not just my daytime job. It's my whole life and my deep passion. So if you want to reach out generally, it's info@, and then I'm just liz.mays@bchumanrights.ca. And all of the reports, all of our campaigns, I'm missing so much, but all of it is housed on our website. So bchumanrights.ca. There's a lot of really great resources in there. And yeah, would love to chat more and keep in touch.
Thanks so much, Liz. And I know, maybe we'll have question about it later on, but talking about yourself, like I know we met when you were with Synergy Foundation. We had Synergy as a panelist a few months back, and then you moved to Red Cedar Cafe. And I think the last time I saw you, you won an award for it. So can you tell us just a quick minute about that?
Yeah, so I was jotting all these notes down at lunchtime. So I did my undergrad in international relations in Ontario, and then I moved abroad and did a master's in international law and human rights. So it's really been my focus and my heart since being a young child. I'm a child of an immigrant, grew up in northwestern Ontario and the Ojibwe-Mishpekawin territories. When moving to these lands in 2015, I was pretty instantly connected with Synergy, specifically in food justice work. And so we were looking at community gardens. And I worked in the environmental sector, doing a lot of zero waste work, a circular economy, for about 3.5 years. And then when COVID hit, activism kind of took a pivot, as it does. And I got involved in a charity called Red Cedar Cafe. So again, was doing some deep work in food justice, food security, working very closely with the unhoused community. So I guess that deep work in community really set me up for now working at the systemic level, trying to address human rights issues. I don't think it would be without my experience and my limited, but broad enough understanding of what's going on the ground, that I would be able to do this work with a systemic lens. So I guess my advice to students wanting to get into this sector is to spend your time, if you're able to. It's a total privilege of mine that I was able to volunteer And I did do a lot of hustling in the hospitality to subsidize my activism work and be able to volunteer and understand and speak to the folks with lived experience. I think the big challenge for anyone has some degrees and diplomas behind them is to think that we can go in and we have a solution for it. But the biggest takeaway for me, someone who's has some years in their career, is just listening to community with folks with lived experience are some of the greatest teachers.
Very cool. Thank you. And we'll go online now. And I just love when you share about careers, because Sue Brown, who works with the students in justice studies, you have a slide most of the time with like that kind of, this is my career. That's how I think my career would go. And the career is just that way. So I feel that most of us are like that, right? So thank you for sharing about it. And yeah, Emiko, would you like to go next? BC Climate Emergency Campaign.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, is my presentation visible?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Nancy, for having me. I'm so honored to be here and so amazed and inspired by the other panelists. Yeah, you are all doing incredible work. I'm Emiko Newman. I'm the coordinator of the BC Climate Emergency Campaign. So I'll be talking today about more of the climate justice side of things. We've already heard a little bit about that. First of all, just a little bit about me and my background. I started off nowhere near the environmental field. I studied English in my undergrad at SFU, and it wasn't until halfway through my degree that I discovered sociology. And I realized, oh my God, I could be learning about gender inequality and anti-racism and all of this stuff that really hit hard with me. And I discovered that this was actually my passion. I wanted to be focused on social justice issues. And so I pursued that into my master's degree. I studied social justice education, and I added this specialization in environmental studies. Environmental studies, or just environmentalism in general, had always been important to me. But the thing is, I, for some reason, held this belief that without a background in environmental science, you really couldn't get into the environmental field. And even, halfway through my master's, I kind of had this crisis where I thought, I want to be engaging with the climate, but I don't have a science background. How am I going to be qualified to do that? Thankfully, I discovered that you can actually link social justice with environment, and it's called climate justice. That is the thing that exists. And when I discovered that, it opened up my entire world, and I realized this is exactly what I want to be doing. I can't think of a better way to spend my time and my energy for the rest of my life. And that brings me to where I am today. I'm so lucky that I was able to land a position with the BC Climate Emergency Campaign as the coordinator. You can see in between, I did some other work, for example, leading anti-racism workshops, working as a research assistant in sustainability education. And yeah, I've been truly so amazed to just be able to spend every day now working on climate justice. So as I said, I work for the BC Climate Emergency Campaign, and essentially we convene a number of organizations who are all feeling anxious about the climate emergency. And we come together to work to increase the ambition of climate policy and action in the province. All of our groups who are involved agree that the greenhouse gas emissions in our province are not decreasing at the speed that they need to be, and that our climate plan, which is Clean BC, needs a profound jolt. It needs to be transformed into a genuine emergency plan. So that is what we are fighting for. That is what we are putting pressure on the government for. The campaign came together in 2021, and the founding groups came up with this list of 10 urgent actions that they then sent to the government, and at the time had 200 organizations signed on in support. 2 years later, we now have more than 545 organizations throughout BC who have added their names, which is really, really exciting. I just wanted to showcase one of the things that we did. This was back in June. We held a press conference outside the Premier's office. And one of the most exciting things about the campaign is that we are not only a group of environmental activists or climate groups. We convene all sectors of society. So for example, the right photo, that's Michaela from Patagonia. So we had a business representative. Dr. Melissa Lem is standing behind her from the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment. On the left there, one of those folks is Reverend Joyce from the Anglican Diocese. So we are really trying to show the government that it's not only these crazy environmental activists who care about this work, it is everybody. It is doctors, it is faith leaders, it is housing groups, it's businesses, etc. The list goes on. Just going to skip through a few of these slides. So almost at the end here, but just to wrap up, I wanted to highlight what we are currently in the midst of working on. Next week, we are going to be releasing this Climate Action Progress Report. The one you see here is from last year, where we're evaluating the BC government on its climate progress. So where is it falling short? Where is it actually making progress? Last year, sadly, they received a failing grade on many of the things we examined. So we'll see what grades they are given this time around. But I'm really excited to have this published. And if you are interested in finding out how the government has been doing, I would really encourage you to check out the report card once it's out. So if you are interested in chatting, there's my email address, there's the website. As I mentioned, we have over 545 organizations that have signed on. If your organization would also like to sign on, please do so. You can go to the website and there's a take action button. It's very easy. You're basically just adding your organization's name to our call for an emergency level climate plan. And that's all you have to do. So thank you so much. Thanks, Nancy, for having me.
Thank you so much, Emiko. And I like what you talk about, almost the imposter syndrome that we have as students. And I think I had that syndrome when I met with Emiko and she asked me to join the movement. I was like, oh my God, I'm not good enough to be part of that committee, but that grew and oh my God, I'm learning every time we meet. So thank you so much for your presentation. And I hope that some students with some businesses, organization, nonprofit can join. And we can order some sticker with you, I think so, huh? Do you still have those stickers out? Perfect.
Yeah, we create some really cute, don't let, what is it? Now I forgot. Anyways, we have some really cute stickers that are anti-LNG stickers for free that you can order if you would like. I'll put the link in the chat.
Amazing. Thank you. And maybe on stage here, we can move to Nicole and Laura. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, Nancy. My name is Laura, and this is Nicole. We're from the Elizabeth Fry Society in Victoria here. So if you don't know about Elizabeth Fry, it's a charitable organization that supports women, girls, and children at risk involved in or affected by the justice system. Our programs work to break the cycle of poverty, addiction, mental illness, homelessness, and crime. So I'm the program manager here in Victoria, and we have 4 programs based out of our office that we're currently working on. So I can tell you a bit about the programs we currently have at our office. So our first program actually that we started out with is called the Third Party Administration Program. And so we actually take clients that are referred to us by the Ministry of Social Development. Those clients have been banned access from receiving ministry services due to behaviors or financial management issues, and the ministry will no longer permit them in their office. So our staff take those clients on, and we work with them and really just help them get on their feet and support them in the way that the ministry office can't. So we're really, really proud of the work we do with that program. And our other program that is relatively new, it's called our Reaching Home program. So we support families, families with children and other eligible clients as well that might be struggling with income, and especially with this housing crisis we're in Victoria, it's really, really challenging for folks. So we're providing rent supplements, groceries, startup funds so that people can get furniture for their homes. And our case managers work with our clients to help them achieve those goals that they might have with stabilizing their tenancy and just being successful. And we have another new program for EFRI it's a national program, but it's based out of our office in Victoria. It's called the Pardon Me program. So we're actually supporting clients with record suspensions with the Parole Board of Canada. So we'll have case managers assigned to our clients, and they'll be able to support them through the whole process of getting a pardon. So the fingerprinting, the obtaining their criminal records, that process that can be really triggering and challenging for clients. Our staff will walk the client through that entire process and help them submit that application, which is really incredible. We're seeing a lot of really great feedback from clients and staff. They're finding it to be super, super rewarding. And maybe I'll let Nicole talk a bit about our Vic Courts program it's also quite new to our office. And Nicole's was a practicum student for us. You're still with us, so I'm not even going to say it because you're here now. But so she'll talk a little bit about the program she was working on at our office.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks for having us. Yes, I was fortunate enough to get an internship with Elizabeth Fry this summer. I'm currently a Royal Road student. I'm working my master's degree in Justice Studies. I'll be completed in March of next year. But this internship experience was really phenomenal. Watching how the clients interact with staff has been almost transformative for me to see and witness. Not to get too emotional, but just the treating people like human beings as opposed to numbers or however it goes was really lovely to see. So I was brought on to develop the court support program for the Victoria office. It currently exists in Vancouver, but looking to bring it over here. So my job was to go out and chat with people in the community, stakeholders in the community, to get a feel for how this would fit in Victoria, particularly with Defense Council, Community Corrections, and Crown Council. The idea being, and I can just start here. I'll just make this quick. As Laura said, women and their children are uniquely impacted by the criminal justice system. And criminalized women are the most marginalized and vulnerable people. Their criminal histories reveal the impact of addiction, poverty, mental illness, and single parenting. And children whose mothers are incarcerated often suffer more significant disruption due to the impact on their day-to-day lives, as mothers are often the primary and sometimes only caregiver. And there's a number of reports that have come out talking about how criminal sentencing courts inconsistently consider the rights of children separated from their caregiver because of detention or imprisonment. So we've been working with a lawyer in town and an academic on the mainland to talk to folks about best interests of the child and how this falls into our programming around diversion, and alternative measures. So we'd like these, community corrections, defense, and Crown Counsel to consider best interests of the child when around sentencing, around how to best get information to judges on sentencing. So we've been going to these different places and presenting. And I had a meeting with defense, a presentation last week. And the lawyer that was running the meeting was like, we're not taught this in law school. So she really appreciated how we were bringing it to the forefront for them. So that's a big part of what we're doing for advocacy work around best interests of the child, and are currently looking for volunteers as well around this program, as well as practicum students. We thought this would be a great forum to get the word out on that and have all sorts of information for people that are interested. We can leave our contact info with Nancy, and would love to hear from you, and especially if you have any other questions as well.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, as it was mentioned earlier, it's so important. I know when I was completing my degree, to have practical experience in the field working with the people that we are advocating for and are supporting through the criminal justice system. I would say probably 90% of the clients we work with are or have faced issues within the system. So yeah, that casework that we do with people individually, we're so proud to know the clients that we work with, and they've taught us so much, and we're so grateful for that opportunity, and we'd love to share that with you folks. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I posted in the chat the story Railroad did on you, Nicole, a few weeks back. So that's very inspiring for people, and I can share with the folks in the room as well. Brad, we'll move over to you online. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, first off, just test my mic. Is everything coming through okay for you guys over there?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. Well, first off, it's an honor to be here. Some fantastic panelists. There's certainly some overlap in some working relations here, especially with regards to the Parole Board of Canada. So that's good to see. So yeah, my name's Brad Edwards. I've been working in community corrections for 11 years now, ever since I was 20. I'm 31 now, so quite a long time. So I'm here on behalf of the Salvation Army, but specifically the community residential facility portion of the Salvation Army, which is commonly referred to as a halfway house, right? So it's an interesting thing, right? Because myself and my colleagues, we kind of view it as kind of a best kept secret. It's usually not something we go and really advertise for, because our funding comes from Correctional Service of Canada. But I think the work that we do is very, very important. And a lot of people don't really realize and see a lot of the footwork that kind of goes on when individuals that are incarcerated for many, many years come out into the community, and what that really looks like. So a little bit about us. So the halfway house that I'm the manager at, we house 50 federal offenders. So it is currently, I believe, the biggest halfway house in Canada. Maybe Belkin might be approaching that. But we take individuals on a variety of conditional releases that are granted by the Parole Board of Canada that spoke here earlier. Some of those releases are, for example, day parole, unescorted temporary absences to participate in substance abuse programming. I don't know how familiar you guys are with statutory release, but by law, it's mandatory for anybody in the justice system to be released at the 2/3 point. However, if the PBC, and it is still determined that that client that is going to be released is still deemed to be an undue risk, they get what's called a residency condition put on their list. And then what ends up happening is they are placed in a halfway house. And when clients come to the halfway house, they have a bunch of conditions attached to their release that they're supposed to follow. So one of the really unique and interesting things about all the positions that we have here at the facility and the staff have to do is you really have to wear like two hats, right? Relative to what I would say other social service agencies, there's a lot of kind of support advocacy, and just assisting the clients. And that happens here too. But the role here for staff members is to provide support, resources, advocacy on behalf of the clientele and help them out based on their unique needs. But then also, a lot of the people here have, committed some pretty serious offenses. So everybody does have unique conditions. So the other half of that is staff members have to be very diligent with the risk factors, communicate thoroughly with the clients in terms of where they can go, where they can't go, and just really have a dynamic and good relationship with the client. And the development of rapport is super, super, super important for us here in federal community corrections. I'd say in terms of the staffing that we have here and the resources that we provide, we have a 8-week substance abuse program. So essentially clients coming out of federal institutions on parole that have substance abuse tied to their risk factor can put in for that attached to maybe their day parole, or if it's somebody serving a longer sentence, an unescorted temporary absence, and they come here and they participate in our Skills for Recovery program, where we have a variety of facilitators go through that with them. All the clients here also are afforded a caseworker. The caseworker is specifically assigned to the client, and they help the client with things from everything from basic banking, employment. Technically, by definition, a lot of the clients within our facility and our supervision have never actually had a home. Like a lot of them would be homeless. So it's very important for us to help reaching out to a lot of other community social service providers like Beacon, BC Housing, John Howard Society, and just really try to get a jump on what those unique needs are. Because a lot of the time we get people that have been coming in and they've been coming into the facility and they've been incarcerated for anywhere from 5, 10, 15, 25 plus years. We've seen guys that have been incarcerated for 25 plus years and they come into the facility and the last thing that, they were incarcerated prior to them even having a phone. So in terms of the curve for kind of getting people like equipped to be able to handle life in society, building up those pro-social skills and all of that, it's quite a lot to contend with, but the staff members here are absolutely fantastic. They do an excellent job. And yeah, we have a lot of practicum opportunities here. We have currently casual work. So anybody involved in maybe the Justice Studies program that's interested in a career in probation, parole, different things of that nature. It's a fantastic job to kind of get acquainted to the unique needs of this demographic and, make a real difference, because that's the stuff that I think we do here. I know a portion of this was surrounding equity. So I'd just like to kind of comment a little bit on that. Currently in the justice system, the last stats I saw, I think were 2020, but the Indigenous population makes up about 4 to 5% of Canada, I believe, on the last I checked. But in terms of provincial and territorial and corrections, they make up 30% of the corrections, right? So clearly there's something wrong there. There's been steps that have been put in place. But in terms of us, when we get the clients, we have several things that we have and we help facilitate. So we keep very close relationships with the elders, sharing circles. We have helped facilitate smudge ceremonies on the patio. We used to have a sharing circle as well. So just trying to get unique things that kind of fit that demographic better as well, so that we can provide them the best services and support possible. So that's a little bit about the organization. It's hard to really know kind of where to start and what people know and what people don't know, but I'll leave the rest for questions later. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Brad. Yeah, I was looking at the website this morning. There's a lot of new job offers for the Salvation Army everywhere in Canada. So thank you. Perfect. Last not least, Lisa, would you like to go next. Thank you. And then start thinking of your question, folks, because we'll have 15 minutes, 20 minutes of networking and question. Thank you.
No one has ever accused me of being quiet, so giving me a microphone may be a huge error. Because we've been sitting for a while, I would like you to do something that makes you feel immensely silly. I would like you to just for a moment shut your eyes, and I'd like you to reflect on your volunteering experiences. Just for a moment. Now, if you're at home studying, I am going to invite you to write a word into the chat function that is how volunteering made you feel. And I'm going to ask you, and those words about how it feels could be anything along a continuum. And each of my fantastic fellow panelists, both here and online, have really talked everything that I need to say about volunteerism. You've really planted that seed of, I volunteered because. Now, open your eyes, take a big stretch like you're a cat. Move, 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 move. Fantastic. The camera's facing the wrong way. No one else can see you. It's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I'm wondering if in the room here, you have some words about how volunteering made you feel or what you did. Does someone want to shout out a word? Rewarding. Thank you. From both ends. Oh, look at you double dipping. Fantastic. Fantastic. Any other words? Communal. Yeah, thank you. Anything online? What did they write? Snoozy, nappy, snacky. That's it. Yeah. 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 Fantastic. Regardless of who we ask about volunteering, we often hear words like this. And, you know, as an executive director at a volunteer center, by the way, I only want you to remember one thing, Volunteer Victoria. That's it. Okay. But Volunteer Victoria. Yeah. So if I haven't said it, Volunteer Victoria. There we go. Volunteerism is a very personal journey. I grew up in Wales, in a country that never used the word volunteering. Not everyone has had an experience in volunteering that is inspirational, that is welcoming, that is about belonging. And in fact, when we look at volunteerism in modern terms, it can be colonial, patriarchal, hierarchical. It can have heroism. It elevates those that can and places those that need in a secondary space. There is lots of complexity around it. There's lots of place for learning. In the Lekwungen language, there isn't a word for volunteerism, but there are more than 100 words for community, right? We have so much richness and diversity and fantastic experiences of building community. But we also have a lot of ways to frame what it is. Statistically speaking, the largest demographic of volunteers are between the ages of 19 and 25. But this demographic is not volunteering because they were told to. In fact, I volunteer for class credit is probably 14th or 15th down the list of reasons why people volunteer. The number one reason why people volunteer is because they want to give back across the ages, across the stages of life. People see a need, they respond, and they move forward. Volunteer Victoria's work is not about helping people who can do more. Our work is about helping people who need support to find a place to belong so they can engage in positive risk-taking. So we have youth programs. Youth at the moment are experiencing a sense of loneliness and isolation and overwhelm that they have not experienced in the history anywhere in the world that we've tracked. That's an exaggeration. But everyone had a universal experience through COVID. Our universal experience was that I'm uncertain, I'm afraid, I don't know. For youth, 3 years of that space is a significant portion of their lifetime. When we help youth volunteer and engage in volunteerism, often it ladders into questions about values, about purpose, about intention. And our goal is not to put a youth somewhere to give time. It is about having youth experience an activity or a community where they can learn and belong and engage and then feel safe to advocate and make change. But in all of that, we recognize that there isn't one path through volunteerism. At Volunteer Victoria, unlike many other volunteer centers that focus on direct services, providing medical drives to seniors, which is fantastic work, we don't do that. At Volunteer Victoria, we've got a mental health program. We have almost 300 clients on a mental health and substance use journey. Those individuals use volunteerism as a tool to engage in a measure of their wellness and of their life journey. Last year, we had a fantastic volunteer in our office, came through the criminal justice system. In the afternoon, she picks up her grandchildren from school and bakes cookies. And in the morning, she was giving hours back to community because she found herself in a place in life that was very unusual for her. She'd engaged with the criminal justice system for the first time. Volunteers have the right to engage. We believe that everyone has the right to volunteer, but not every volunteer position is right for everybody. So we want people to be who they are, where they are, and we want to meet people where they're at on their volunteering journey. For students and for emerging professionals, we want to encourage you to use volunteerism as a tool to expand your network, to grow your skills and lived experience, to engage in positive risk-taking that you might not have had an opportunity to do yet, and also to ladder your volunteerism into a place where you are not just engaging in a task or a time, but you're intentional about how your volunteerism might make positive change for yourself, for your neighbors, for ideas, and for community at large. My name's Lisa Mort-Putland. I'm the Executive Director at Volunteer Victoria. My title is irrelevant. I prefer to be called Head of Sarcasm. No one takes that rather seriously, and unfortunately. I'm a serial volunteer, not because I'm a volunteer manager, but because I found that it has served a phenomenal purpose in my life. As an immigrant who left a village with hundreds of relatives, that is not sarcasm. My family are prolific producers. Probably not in the right way, but to come to a place where you are now alone, you get to pick a chosen family, and my chosen family has come to me through volunteerism. There are 1,000 reasons to volunteer. You do not need to meet all of them. You should be a little bit selfish when you volunteer. Your time is a gift. You should protect your health and wellness and know that, and I thought you said that amazingly, when you step back, others will step forward. And when you step forward again, it will be with a different framework. I want you to volunteer for respite and fun, to make friends. I want you to volunteer because it's strategic, because it leads to better employment, because it leads to more equitable employment, because it builds a community, because you can change the world, and because why not? I mean, you were either going to sit on the couch watching Dancing with the Stars and eating chocolate. Not that I did that, just so you know. That's right. If you know who was eliminated, you were also doing it with me communally, but in another space. But volunteering is a space for you at various points in your life. If you have never volunteered, no guilt, no shame. If you don't have time for volunteering, no guilt, no shame. A wonderful person was downstairs greeting us as we came in. In 10 minutes, you erased that fear of where am I going? Who am I talking to? Where will I be? It doesn't take hundreds of hours to make a difference. It takes intention and a moment. Volunteer Victoria, you can look it up. It's not that difficult. It's 2 words, not even hyphenated. Volunteer Victoria. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lisa. Wow, what a great way to wrap up the conversation. Thanks, everyone. And of course, we went a little bit over because we have so much to share and talk about. So I'd just like to open the floor for questions. I don't know if some students have questions already. Yeah.
Hi. I guess one question is, how do you get the little baggie to stay on the back of the recycling bin? This is my question.
Little bag?
Yes.
Start from the back, and then bring it forward. We can do a demo after if you want.
Very nice. Yeah. And big thank you to everybody. My name is Jeff Halverson, and I am the program head or student mentor, I guess, kind of covering some program head duties for the MA in Justice program. So for all the students, if you want to continue your learning journey or go out and then come back, we're very excited to have you back in the MA program. We're diving into all kinds of delicious topics. So this term, we were in the first year program looking at case studies in justice and talking about some of the topics we examined were missing and murdered Indigenous women and how colonization has created a space for this to occur. Other topics included what does transformative justice look like? And so the probation officers and corrections officers, police officers were debating, having conversations about what are alternative visions to the criminal justice system. We had all kinds of talks about, trying to think of one more example, how the opioid crisis came about historically, the social construction of opiates, and the policy backgrounds over the last 100 years that have resulted in the opioid crisis. So these are some of the topics that we're diving into about what is justice, what does justice look like, and how can we pursue an equitable world. So looking forward to seeing some of you in the program. Thanks.
Question here. Oh, you have one. I'll bring the mic. Everybody's looking away from me.
So I have a question for Lisa. You said that you have to be selfish with your time and be very intentional with volunteering. But what if you have no idea where to start? How do you start?
Volunteer Victoria. We have volunteer advisors that will meet with you. We spend about 45 minutes and we focus on you, what you need. There are 3,500 registered societies in Victoria. There's lots of things to choose from. But what we want to do is make sure that you find a place where you land really well, where it's rewarding. And some people volunteer just for respite. We had volunteers out on Sunday or Saturday at the tea festival, right? Just drinking tea, making tea, talking to people, just having fun. Fantastic. But what we want for you is this place where it's intentional, and that's it. When you feel overwhelmed with so much school and housing and everything else, and you've got a limited amount of time to give, let's make the most of that. So happy, come see us. You can book an appointment through our website, and yeah, we'd love to see you.
Thank you.
And I think a question, I'll go see online. Oh, there's one. Sue, I'll bring the mic. I lost Matthew, so I have to run around.
Okay, I'm going to just ask some of these questions that are online. First one, for those looking for job opportunities, what's the best place to find these postings or practicum field placement opportunities? Some of our guests online have already posted in the chat here, but I would love to hear from some of the organizations here if you are interested or have opportunities for students.
So for our organization at eFry, you can actually just Google Elizabeth Fry Society of Greater Vancouver, and we have a Join Our Movement career page, and you can absolutely find practicum and job postings along with volunteer instructions on how to apply. So everything's right on that page there.
Volunteer Victoria has a newsletter. Other nonprofits often post jobs into that newsletter. So it's quite easy to sign up and unsubscribe if you want to. But there will always be job postings in that newsletter.
We're not hiring at the moment, but I would recommend checking out goodwork.ca. That's where a lot of environmentally focused kind of jobs are posted. Also, the Green Jobs Board. I don't know if that's focused so much on Canada, but the woman who runs that, she's, I forget what, there's like I'll have to come back to that. But yeah, those are two places that I would recommend.
And for my office, we do have internships, about 4 per year. I think at this point we are in partnership with a limited number of post-secondary institutions provincially. But if RRU is interested, I'm sure that's a conversation our executives would be willing to have and eager to have. And we don't do any volunteer opportunities right now.
Thank you. For the folks online, you can just unmute and go. Emiko, I see your hand up.
Thanks, Nancy. Yeah, I don't have a specific website to share, but I just wanted to give some general advice that saved me and literally got me to where I am, that a friend shared with me, which is basically just you need to make connections and you need to do that networking. That is going to give you the positions that you're looking for. So for example, for me, my friend told me this because I was stressed. I was struggling to find opportunities. And she said, you have to go hard on the networking. So what I did is I created this list. I stalked all these people online, people whose positions I was interested in. For example, professors who were teaching subjects that I wanted to learn about or to teach myself, things like that. I just sent cold emails to all of these people and all of them said yes. I said, this is who I am. This is what I'm looking for. Would you be willing to have a quick call with me? All of them said yes. And at first it's scary. It feels awkward, but the more you do it, the more natural it becomes, the easier it becomes. And for me, one of these calls led to a work position, which then led to an even better work position, which then led me to where I am now. And if I hadn't reached out and sent that random email to this person, I do not think I would be in the position that I am. So I really would encourage you to just do a Google, look on LinkedIn, look for people who are where you want to be in the future. Maybe you want to get into a certain program. You can Google alumni of that program and just send them a message on LinkedIn. If somebody here today works for an organization that you want to get involved with, reach out to us after this session. That's already going to give you a leg up over other folks who weren't here today and now don't have this personal connection directly with that organization. So that would be my advice.
The others, you can jump in. Yeah. Brad and Sylvia and Nicole. Yeah.
See the queue. I'll go now, I guess. In terms of job opportunities, typically we post them. We have our own website, but we also post them to Indeed. I think Indeed's pretty common. So if you just go up on Indeed and you type in community corrections, there should be community corrections support worker positions available. We also currently started a new substance abuse program. So they're looking for a manager for that. So that should also be up there on Indeed. You can also just send me an email if you have any inquiries about the job, the role, CSE, anything specific to that at brad.edwards@salvationarmy.ca. We also do practicums. I think Royal Roads already has the contact information for that. It usually just goes right to me. So, but in terms of practicums here, it's a really good opportunity because you can kind of tailor it to what you want. So for example, if you're interested more in facilitation or programming, we have options where you could do your practicum with our substance abuse program facilitator. So you kind of be able to shadow them, pick up on the skills a little bit. And you also get to teach a couple components of the program near the tail end of it. So that's pretty cool. Or if you're looking for more experience, maybe you want to one day, I don't know, be a probation officer, a parole officer, and you need something more along the lines of risk management. We have ones where we would put you aligned with a caseworker as well. So you'd get familiarized with the kind of reports they do, the kind of support they offer to the clients, and you would just be exposed to them as well. So, but great opportunity. There's a lot of fantastic people. I think the most important thing for us here is interoperability. When you work here, you work very closely with a diverse case management team of parole officers, psychologists, program staff, caseworkers, and the sharing of information is super, super important. So I'd encourage you to give it a look if that's something you like.
For Pro Board, I did post in the chat our student work program. So we have that, which is a very sort of structured, specific program. As for regular jobs, normally they're posted on the government website, like jobs.ca. And in addition to that, we have constant sort of casual opportunities. So you can work with us casually, get some experience with us. We work closely with CSC, so a lot of the times if your casual term is up, you can go to CSC Correctional Services for something. A lot of our casuals get into indeterminate positions after they've done some work with us. So it's pretty open. You could email Nicole and we can give you more information if you want, or pass your resume along as well.
Lots of connections over the years.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you so much, everyone.